welcome back in Time to Get You Learn. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications.
All right, very good, guys. All right, okay, so we're still going to continue with 19th century Europe. It's just now, instead of focusing on England, we're going to focus more on France. Now, the big thing I want you to understand with this is when we talked about England, they didn't go through revolutions. All right, they were smart enough to bend to the will of the people without snapping, without going through revolutions. Now, if there's one thing we learned about France in the late 18th and into the 19th century, it's crazy town. So of course there's going to be more revolutions. So let's pick it up to where we left off with, and let's pick it up with the Congress of Vienna, the fall of Napoleon. Okay, so in 1815, after the fall of Napoleon, the Congress of Vienna, with the principle of legitimacy, brings back the Bourbon monarchy to France. Now, you have to understand, when you bring back the Bourbon monarchy to France, it is not going to be very, very popular, okay? You know, you'll have Louis XVIII, and Louis XVIII will give way to Charles X, and they will, you know, they bring it back to a very much conservative view, a conservative ideology, and that is not what the people of France want. Now, the problem is that they all want different things, but they definitely do not want the Bourbon monarchy there. So, that being said, some people wanted to establish a republic. They wanted everybody voting, or at least all the males voting, regardless of class, regardless of property. You had some middle-class liberals that said, look, we want more people voting, we just don't want everybody voting. Okay, so what they ended up with in 1830, it's going to be a constitutional monarchy. Now, the guy that the bourgeoisie chooses to become the king is a man by the name of Louis Philippe. Okay, so Louis Philippe, who I believe was the cousin of the king, he becomes the new king. Now, he's given the nickname the bourgeois king because it's the bourgeoisie that got him into power. Okay, now Louis Philippe, he was a liberal. Okay, he was very interested in promoting business, so very economically liberal. Okay, and the fact that it is a constitutional monarchy, that shows some political liberalism as well. Okay, now keep in mind, the voting is still limited to a small number of property owning males. Okay, so it's not like everybody is voting. Okay, now eventually he can't make everybody happy, so we're going to see that it's going to be Republicans. People who want a republic, they're not going to be happy with Louis Philippe's reign. In 1848, there will be a revolution. This is the Les Mis revolution. This is the one, okay? So we're going to see that there will be demonstrations. The police will actually fire on a lot of the demonstrators, and they'll start barricading the people, the demonstrators. They'll start barricading different parts of France, which is going to lead to something a little bit later on. This is why they're going to redo all of Paris. Okay, so they start barricading parts of the city. Now, Louis Philippe, he is smart enough to go, I'm out, all right? I'm not staying through this. So he abdicates the throne and he leaves France. Now, when he leaves France, that gives us the question of, again, what do we do now? What do we do now? All right? And there's going to be a lot of different ideas, because this is the 19th century, on what to do now and what direction should we take France. One of those guys is a man by the name of Louis Blanc. All right? Now, Louis Blanc is a socialist. Straight up, he's a socialist, okay? He wanted to abolish private property, and he felt that it was unfair to the workers, all right? That some people start off at different parts in the beginning of their lives. That was unfair. So abolish all private property, abolish competition in favor of cooperation. So he's going to establish, well, what he wanted to establish was cooperative workshops set up by the government, okay? Now, with these cooperative workshops, they would be run by the workers, okay? So the workers are the ones deciding what to do, what to make, how much to sell it for. It's a cooperative, okay? Now, all workers would be guaranteed employment. Now, of course, this is going to be very, very popular amongst the poor. It's going to be very, very popular amongst the unemployed and definitely people in the cities. All right, because they're the ones that are taking all the advantages with this. Keep in mind, this is funded by a lot, well, supposedly, was going to be funded by a lot of taxation, okay? Now, this policy was implemented in small part in Paris. But the problem is if you're not making a product to make money, you're only making a product to gain employment, you're going to eventually run out of taxes to fund the employment, okay? Now, of course, to be honest, when the rural areas, when they realize their taxation is going to the pockets of people in the urban areas, that just infuriates the rural populace, who is still a majority of the population at this time, okay? So that being said, they kill these cooperative workshops. And really the guy they end up backing, most of the people in France, is a man by the name of Louis Napoleon. Yes, he is related to that Napoleon. He is the nephew of Napoleon. So, in 1848, Louis Napoleon, also known as Napoleon the Small, he is elected president of France. Okay, and he is going to serve out his term as president of France. Now, he's not going to go away at this point because just like his uncle, he says, president's a good position. I like being president. But you know what might be better than president? An emperor. Now, look, you got to understand, he doesn't violently take, the reins of power. He holds it to a vote. And the people overwhelmingly said, yeah, we like you. We're going to want you to be our emperor of France. Okay? Now, look, there's a couple reasons, all right? Louis Napoleon was seen as a moderate who could bring some stability. Also, people have fond memories of his uncle. People had fond memories of Napoleon I. And they're like, dude, he's going to bring us back to the glory days. Because ever since Napoleon's been dead, it hasn't been that great. We're going to go back to the old school. We're going to go back to the glory days. So, yeah, they vote to make him emperor. So in 1852, he becomes Emperor Napoleon III, and this is called the Second Empire. And I believe I have it somewhere down here. The Second Empire is from 1852 to 1870, okay? And to be honest, this period, for the most part, especially domestically, for the most part, it's a period of stability and prosperity. It's only when maybe Napoleon gets involved in Mexico, and when you have the Franco-Prussian War, that's when it all ends, okay? Now, here's the thing. Louis Napoleon is very much like his uncle, okay? He was an authoritarian. It's like, it's my way, all right? However, he supported equality under the law. He supported civil liberties. He supported industry. Okay, so, even though he's an authoritarian, he definitely trends more to liberalism than other people have. So, of course, he was very popular. He was supported by the general populace. Okay, now, that being said, he's going to use government funds to promote railroads. He is going to finance some industries. He's doing everything he can to make business work, to make business easier to conduct in France, okay? Now, that being said, eventually, and we'll talk about this later on, he will be forced to abdicate, all right? He's going to be forced because he makes a pretty disastrous decision in Mexico. Also, in 1870, France is going to take a pretty swift beating by the hands of the Prussians in 1870. So when France loses the Franco-Prussian War, we see that Napoleon III will abdicate. Okay? All right, now, in the next video, we're going to talk about Austria, and we're probably going to talk about the unification of Italy and Germany.